Support for Arts Weekly is provided by PBS 39, the Hour Foundation, Martin Tierney, and the Community Foundation of Greater Fort Wayne.
This is Arts Weekly. Arts Weekly is produced in cooperation with the College of Visual and Performing Arts at IPFW, offering degrees in fine arts, music, theater, and visual communication and design.
Welcome to Arts Weekly. I'm Melinda Haynes of the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts. In the second half of today's show, we'll meet featured Fort Wayne artist Liz Monnier, but first it is time to start winding down our arts-filled summer and look toward the fall. Joining me today to talk about what's coming up at the grand and glorious Embassy Theater is Marketing Director Barb Richards. Barb, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, Linda.
Well, you are another Fort Wayne fixture, and so I would like to talk.
The older you get, they take words on legendary, fixture.
It's all semantics, isn't
Right,
it?
yeah.
Well, you know, you have had quite a career here in Fort Wayne before joining the embassy, and I'd like to just ask you a little bit about that because, you know, you're a voice from radio, and I love radio voices. So, you know, tell me a little bit about, you know, how you got started here in Fort Wayne.
Sure, sure. Well, we moved to Fort Wayne. My mom was originally from Fort Wayne, and I have great stories to tell about that. But we moved back to Fort Wayne when I was in grade school, and I was shy.
Hard to believe.
I know, very hard to believe. And my mom had a theater background and was actually a professional dancer before she and Dad got married.
Wow.
And so she decided to put me on the youth theater program
great.
Over at the Civic Theater when it was on Maiden Lane.
Yeah.
And so she kind of created a monster from there.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to, so I did a lot of community theater. My dad was on the original board of directors of the Arena. My mom got a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Arena Dinner Theater, and Anthony from the Civic. And I actually met my husband at the Civic Theater.
Oh my gosh.
He was backstage, I was on stage, very reminiscent of our married life.
Yeah, well, it works to have
It
one
works
in
well.
each place.
It
yeah.
doesn't work to have you both
No.
on stage. So anyway, so I wanted to graduate and go off to New York and, you know, be an actress, be a star. And somewhere along the line, somebody mentioned about radio, and I thought, well, maybe that might make a little bit more sense. Might be a more workable career. As you well know, there's not a lot of actual percentage-wise working actors and actresses. So I got a job in radio. I started working here in Fort Wayne. We moved away for about 8 years and ended up coming back in 1984 and put down roots, and it's the best thing I've ever did in my life. Yeah. So I started at 95.1 back there in 84, and with my oldest child was just 7 weeks old when I started.
Oh my goodness.
And so we stayed and stayed and stayed, and then did the whole radio career, had a couple more kids, empty nester now, and decided that maybe it was time to leave a few years ago and started to look around the community. I didn't want to move for a radio job.
Right.
I love my community. I am a big champion of Fort Wayne, Indiana. We're a wonderful community. And so the job opened at the Embassy Theater, and it's a perfect job for me. I'm very grateful.
Well, it is a perfect job for
It
you
really
because
is.
you know so much about Fort Wayne and having lived and worked here for so long.
And it's sort of full circle. You
Right.
know, I started the theater thing and then did the radio thing, which was wonderful. I was oftentimes the first female that they ever put on the air. You know, so I broke through some glass ceilings. I'm proud of that. And then I was able to transition that and my gifts into helping at the Embassy Theater. And what a treasure the Embassy is.
You know,
oh my gosh.
It truly is. I mean, you know, that Embassy Theater, when people go down there, people who don't know about it, I'm like, how can you not know about it? So in case we have
we
one
slap
or,
them.
that's right, there might be one or two people who are watching who might not know what the Embassy Theater is. So let's kind of, you know, talk a little bit about, you know, where is it and what is it, and then let's expound on that.
Absolutely. There was a gentleman that lived in the city of Fort Wayne by the name of Clyde Quimby. His mom, Emily Boyd, loved vaudeville. And so he built her a vaudeville house. That's what you did in the 1920s. Right. And so that's exactly what he did. He called it, he named it after his mom, Emily Boyd. And it was in the family until the mid-50s. First emceeing job for Bob Hope, on our Embassy Theater
Isn't that
stage.
something?
Oh, don't you think I think of that when I walk out onto that stage? All those performers that came through year after year after year. In the 50s, movies were really starting to take over.
Right.
The theater was sold to an entertainment company out of Chicago. The family wanted to keep the name, so they changed it to the Embassy. And then it closed in the late 60s into the early 70s, and then they were going to tear it down. They were going to make a parking lot.
Well, and I remember that, you know, living here in
yeah.
that area then. That was a kind of a scary time
I'm
for
sure
the
I
theater.
contributed. I was in high school. I'm sure I contributed. But in 1974, a group of, as you well know, the Grand Page pipe organ is part of our building.
Right.
The building got torn down. There went the pipes for the pipe organ.
Right.
There's only one of four. There's only 4 Grand Page pipe organs.
Really?
Yes, and we have one of them.
Well, and you know what? Let's just turn a little bit, talk about that Grand Page organ for a little bit. You know, you said it's actually part of the building. You mean that
is.
literally?
I do.
It is built into...
So when you go into the Embassy Theater and you see what you think is a balcony on either side of the stage,
Right.
behind that it's not the balcony, behind that sit 1,300 pipes.
Oh my goodness.
A Grand Page pipe organ was created in the 1920s to create the soundtrack to black and white movies. So it can do everything. They can make it sound like a train. They have drums in there. So when I just say pipes, there's much more. It's made to sound almost like a full orchestra. You know, it's 4 sets of keyboards and all these little toggle switches. And there was a group of organ enthusiasts here in the community that even when the theater was closed, they would still maintain the pipes of the pipe organ. It's all a scientific. Many of them work as engineers, you know, and they still come down every Monday and they work and they maintain that pipe organ. I love those guys. And
well, you still have, there's sometimes don't you play black and white silent movies?
We do, absolutely. It is part of our
take
season
advantage of that.
programming each and every year. And it's so wonderful to this black and white silent movie that young kids have no idea about. And they're laughing and giggling and all it's got is the sound of the pipe organ playing. It's an amazing experience. So really looking forward to that in the new season.
So that Grand Page organ is kind of what was the impetus for saving the theater.
Yes, exactly, because it was this group of organ enthusiasts. Bob Goldstein was the leader of the pack that said, let's create this foundation and let's save the Embassy Theater. And that's what they did. 3 days before the wrecking ball was to come in and knock down the building, they raised $250,000.
Oh my
It's a lot of money, especially back then. They sold cheese. Never gotten quite the cheese embassy tie-in, but it's okay. You know, and kids were literally emptying their piggy banks to save it, but it really and truly was saved for the organ.
That is
I don't
wonderful.
think I don't think a lot of people know that.
Right.
It was quite an education when I started.
Right.
at
It's a
the
great
embassy.
story for, you know, just to think about when you sit in that building, wow, what it went through and look, you know, how beautiful it is today. Well, so what do you have coming up this fall?
Well, we're very excited about our Broadway series. I brought you a Broadway series fan.
Excellent.
Wasn't exactly a great summer for fans, but it's going to be a great season for our Broadway series because we're bringing in Jersey Boys.
Oh.
Can't wait. So it'll be the Fort Wayne premiere of Jersey Boys
my
in
goodness.
April.
Yeah.
Prior to that, we've got Mamma Mia. You gotta love Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
Still want to go to Greece because of Mamma Mia, right? Blue Man Group is coming back. Everybody in the family loves Blue Man Group. 2 nights this year,
Oh,
Thursday and
great.
Friday, so you can bring families. That's happening still in the rest of 2014. And then in 2015, we have Sister Act,
Oh, great.
Flashdance, Guys and Dolls, and Jersey Boys. Jersey Boys is going to be an extended performance schedule for us this year. It'll actually have 6 days and eight performances. So it's something we probably have done it sometime in the past with the Embassy. I'm not really sure, but for me, it's certainly the first time.
Because usually it's just 1 or 2 nights.
Right,
these
maybe a
groups are here.
2-night stay, but this one, because to get Jersey Boys, we had to agree to an extended performance schedule. So it'll be a Tuesday through Sunday. There'll be a show every night, and there'll be matinees on Saturday and Sunday. So subscriptions are currently available, and then single tickets will be going on sale throughout the season.
So, I mean, all of these shows have just the most wonderful music in them. Those are all singable, danceable. And
absolutely. What I really like about our Broadway series is we always kind of give you a traditional Broadway music, this year being Guys and Dolls.
Oh,
so
I love that one.
I know. I love it.
Well, I love them all.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So you've got Broadway at the Embassy.
Right. And then, of course, we do a lot of Embassy-originated programming.
Right.
One of the big ones to come up, that's where the black and white silent movies fall. We've got Fright Night, which is part of the downtown part.
That's a lot of fun. That's really blossomed over
Well, you
the
know,
last
I was
couple
on
years.
from the radio station when I worked at 95. I was part of that originating group of downtown theaters, or the venues that got together and created Fright Night. So it's been wonderful to see that explode. Who thought that there were that many people that wanted to dress up as zombies, right?
I know.
Oh my gosh. So what we're going to be doing this year is we're going to be doing 3 different movies. We're going to start early in the afternoon with a couple episodes of Scooby-Doo for the kids.
Oh, good. Scooby-Doo, that's great.
Yeah, and then later on we'll be doing Ghostbusters on the big screen, which is fun. Yeah. And then we've got Nightmare on Elm Street very late at 11 o'clock.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. And it's also going to be our 30th annual Festival of Trees. Do you remember when they started Festival of Trees?
I do remember.
I know, we were both very, very little. Very little.
This big,
Anyway, so it's 30th Annual Festival of Trees. So we'll start again with the Night of Lights and continue up until December 3rd.
That is really the beginning of the holiday season.
Yeah.
In Fort Wayne.
In Fort Wayne. It's that Night of Lights downtown. We just had a planning meeting already. It's August, we're already talking about it, but it takes a lot. And they've got some new exciting things that are going to be coming up. And one of our new things, and I wanted to mention it to you because you've got that visual art thing going on at IPFW, is we've just announced that we're going to open up the designing of the holiday windows, the designing and creating of the holiday windows to the community for some organization to take it on as a project.
Oh, how nice.
There are.
Is it a contest sort of thing?
No, it's not really a contest. But there are recommendations and guidelines and a budget. The guidelines can be found on our website at fwembassytheater.org. But we just decided that maybe that will engage the community more if they could create it. You got little tiny spaces to work in with those windows.
But those are great to walk by, and you see those, and at the holidays they're be very festive.
Yeah, exactly. Very reminiscent of the Wolf and Dessar windows in downtown Fort Wayne for years and years, which I remember going to.
Yeah.
You probably don't, but I do. And so it's just a magical time in downtown Fort Wayne. It's a great time to be down there. So we're really looking forward to those things in the fall, and then in the spring we'll have our black and white silent movies. We'll have our down the line concert franchise. We've got a lot of other stuff coming up. So.
Well, I want to just spend a minute on the vision for the embassy. What is that as we walk down and we see that big piece of scaffolding or whatever that is in front of that? Tell me about that real fast.
So it's just a few weeks ago, the beginning of July, that we had a wall breaking ceremony, because most people have a groundbreaking. Well, we weren't breaking ground. We already had the building. We're just fixing up the inside to make it usable space for the embassy with the Indiana Hotel. So again, that founding group of organists at Save the Theater said, well, we've got the hotel right here. Let's just buy them both. And they literally opened 2 weeks apart.
I see.
The theater opened first and then the hotel. Unfortunately, we don't have any history of the hotel. I would love to know what room Bob Hope stayed in.
How fabulous, But it's a ballroom that's going to be up there, right?
It's not going to be a hotel. We're going to make a 2-story high ballroom in the 6th and 7th floor. There'll be a rooftop garden. Of course, as you know, a lot of people get married at the embassy.
It's beautiful.
And we have a lot of private parties at the embassy. So by expanding into some other areas with some additional venues, it helps keep the embassy theater running well and operating good, so we can continue to bring great entertainment to Fort Wayne.
It is a wonderful facility. So for information, how can people get information about the shows?
Absolutely.
Or anything else?
It's best to go to our website, fwembassytheater.org. We post regularly on Facebook and Twitter, so if you can follow us and like us, that's always a good thing to do. Our box office is open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. At any point in time, drive up, pull off, come in, talk to them all you want. You can call them too at 260-424-5665. So can you tell I'm a little excited about being there?
Well, thank you so much for being here today, Barb. It's great to have you here.
Good to see you, Melinda.
As we prepare for our next guest, please take a minute to view our performance calendar of what's coming up in our region. We'll be right back with featured Fort Wayne artist Liz Monnier. Liz Monnier is a graduate of Indiana University's Modern Dance Department. She was a founding member of Windfall Dancers in Bloomington in 1977 and the Fort Wayne Dance Collective in 1979, serving as artistic director since 1985. Liz received 2 artist fellowships from Arts United of Greater Fort Wayne and 6 Philo T. Farnsworth Awards for video productions for public access television. She also received first place in the Hometown Awards, a national competition for access producers, a Margaret Ann Keegan Award, and the Gene Weil Local Access Production Award. In 2007, she won the John N. Wright Distinguished Alumni Award from the Indiana University School for Health, Physical Education, and Recreation. And recently, Liz developed a curriculum for dance education for disabled adults. Since 1993, Liz has annually created a full-length original story dance, which allows for a wide range of ages and skill levels. These productions are performed at the Arts United Center and the Southside High School Auditorium. Liz has taught modern dance and related forms for more than 25 years and has served on the Dance Standards Committee for the Indiana Department of Education. I am pleased to welcome Liz Monnier as this week's featured Fort Wayne artist. Wow. Welcome, Liz. You are, I loved putting that little feature together because I'm like, you are just one of the, another one of those Fort Wayne fixtures. You know, we're calling you featured Fort Wayne artist, and it's amazing to have you here in Fort Wayne and to have you here for so long, to be able to be blessed by everything that you've done in this town. So
thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
That's great. Well, you know, I'd like to find out about a little bit about how you got here. You know, we just heard a little snippet of some of the things that you've accomplished since you've been here. But when did you first realize you wanted to dance, and then, you know, kind of segue into how it became a career for you?
When I was in elementary school, the neighborhood I lived in, there, my best friend, Jackie, had ballet classes, and so when we would play together, she would teach me what she learned in her dance classes. And so for years I begged my mother to please let me take dance classes, and finally when I was 12, I was able to start taking real dance classes. And then studied through junior high and high school. I went to Columbus High School in Columbus, Indiana. I loved that experience. I got to sing 2 hours a day in concert choir in a group called Debuteens that did a lot of performing and moving, and also was on the gymnastics team. It was the first year for women's gymnastics. And so all of those experiences, you know, pushed me as I went to IU and started learning about modern dance, and then modern dance took its hold on me.
That is just wonderful. And you've the group that you founded down in Bloomington. Tell me a little bit about that. Were you still a student then when you did that?
Well, wow, this is a really long story. Moved to Fort Wayne and lived here for a couple years and not doing a whole lot, going, where's the dancing at?
Yeah.
And so a couple of the women that I graduated IU with, one in Cincinnati, a couple in Bloomington, in Indianapolis, we said, let's just get together and make a dance concert. So we traveled to Bloomington over many, many months and created a group called Windfall Dancers. So it was just like the seed. So they're still in operation today, and so really proud. That was sort of my first baby.
Right. So having that first baby then, you came back to Fort Wayne and started the second one. So tell me about the beginnings of Fort Wayne Dance Collective.
In 1978, there was a modern dance workshop, a 3-week workshop that was presented by the Women's Bureau. And so that was like a dream come true. It's like finally finding the dance in Fort Wayne that summer. And at the end of the workshop, there were a few of us just hanging out in the parking lot going, well, what are we going to do now? We're not going to just let this go. So the 5 of us said, well, let's do another concert. Let's make up a dance. And so we started meeting at the Unitarian Meeting House and produced a piece called Women in Power, primarily choreographed by Randy Levy, who was working with the Women's Bureau as a CETA artist at that time. So we premiered that dance at Art Link in 1978, December, and incorporated in January 1979.
Oh my gosh, so you've really done a lot for Fort Wayne Dance Collective. I mean, it's hard for me to even think of Fort Wayne Dance Collective without Liz Monnier, and vice versa, because you're just such a part of it. So when you started that, you know, small organization. How did it grow to what it is today? How did, you've been overseeing it for some time.
Well, just like it was like a newborn baby, just there was a lot of growth really fast. And
did the 5 of you who found it stay together for a while, or?
For a while. I think we lost a person year 1 and another person year 2, but someone else came in. There always seemed to be 5 to 7 of us at any point. As we got through to the late 80s, I think we wanted to become more community-based, so it wasn't just a group of 5 people performing,
Right.
But that anybody could perform. So we just opened it up and made it more community-based in that way. And we always had our on-site school. Right. And so in the 80s too, we grew the outreach program that has gone through, up and down, up and down. And we've always had like these programs that at any point one might be doing really well and one not so well, and then it kind of went like this. So through those waves we were always sustained by something. Something was always working. So
well, and we were talking earlier about that it's a collective. What does that mean as opposed to an organization that's not a collective? I mean,
it's a philosophy that is seen through all places in our organization. At least I would like to think that it does it that way, so that all voices are heard, so that it's not one person saying, and you will do this and you will do that, but rather what are we going to do, and how are we all personally responsible for the tasks that we're given.
Right. Well, and you have a staff down there now. I mean, you're artistic director, but you have people who work there and do the education, the programming, the dance, and you continue to dance in these recitals or productions, or however you want to describe them. I mean, so do you continue to train, yourself for dancing as well? You still?
Do I train? Very interesting. Well, I don't do a dance regiment so much anymore, but I am working with a method called the Feldenkrais method, which is about the brain and the nervous system through movement, and that really keeps me very alert and alive and pain-free and moving through space.
Well, now, how did you come up with this idea or learn about the idea of the dance programming for disabled adults? That's something that I think is a fabulous program. There's nothing else like that in this area. Is it something that started in other areas of the country and you heard about it, or you just saw that there was a need in this area?
There was an organization in Indianapolis called Very Special Arts of Indiana, and we were a part of that, and part of their focus was to place artists in facilities that serve people with disabilities. So we started getting involved with them in the early 90s, started a program at Bi-County Services in Bluffton in 1991 that I am still
that long ago.
That I'm still facilitating.
Oh my goodness.
I know. So that was kind of a training ground for the dance collective to start that kind of work. Lisa Tetzi and I also started facilitating movement experiences on the 9th floor of St. Joe Hospital for people with emotional issues. And it just grew from there. Something that really spurred our growth recently was grants from the Anthony Wayne Services Foundation. And that funding allows us to go to now 7, 8 facilities around Fort Wayne and other, like Huntington and Columbia City. We go all over.
And you're not performing for these groups. You are actually encouraging them to move and dance.
We're providing programming for them, creative movement, and also singing and songs and playing instruments and, doing a lot of...
Like dance therapy, like some people might think of music therapy. I mean, is it in that same...
We don't call it therapy, we just call it dancing. It's, we take what can you do, and we're just going to add on to that, and we're going to engage the whole person in as many different ways as we can.
And that's just a great program, and I think I bet that it's just touched so many people who you wouldn't normally think of the population as enjoying that.
It's perfect for them,
Right.
really.
Yeah.
They at Bi-County Services, they have a music department,
and that does 2 productions a year.
Right.
And at first they were crazy, you know, nobody knew how to work backstage and nobody knew how to perform, and it just kept growing. Every year they go, well, we're going to try it again, and we're going to use a bigger stage, and we're going to practice more, and every year it just keeps growing. And now these people in the program, they're gifted performers.
Right.
I'm ready for my song, I'm ready to play my instrument, I'm ready for my dance. I mean, it's beautiful.
Well, thank you for bringing that program to Fort Wayne. I just think that's very important. Now, quickly, let's just talk a little bit about what Fort Wayne Dance Collective's got coming up here. I've been wanting to chat about you about all of this, but let's just talk a little bit about that. What's coming up next?
Wonderland is our fundraiser. It's our second fundraising signature event.
Yeah.
It will be September 12th at the Masonic Temple. It is a kind of a spoof on Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
And so when you walk in the doors, you're never quite sure what's going to happen, or where it's going to happen, or when the rabbit's going to pop out. And so there'll be little performances throughout the space during the evening.
Oh, that sounds like a very unique kind of performance experience for that. So what's after Wonderland then?
Pandora's Box, the Halloween show.
Okay.
Of course, that's kind of obvious, like
Right.
what's in the
What's
box?
in the box? And
What's in the box? Ah!
You've got to come to find out.
We have 9 choreographers that are designing their own pieces for that. And then Nuts and Crackers in December. And then we're bringing Dayton Contemporary Dance Company in March for a 2-day residency.
Great. Now, is all that available on your website?
Yes.
Can you give us that information?
FWDC.org.
Wonderful.
Or Facebook.
You can see the whole schedule there. Well, Liz, thank you so much for being here today. It's great to learn more about you and your background here in Fort Wayne. I'm Melinda Haynes of the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts. Tune in next time to Arts Weekly, when I'll be joined by Tenna Wenker and Susan Mendenhall, who will share all the details behind this year's Taste of the Arts Festival, taking place August 23rd. Then Sarah Payne will be here to tell us all about this year's Auburn Cord Duesenberg Festival, beginning August 24th. For up-to-the-minute arts updates, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and be sure to join us here Thursday evenings at 7:30 on PBS 39. Thank you for watching Arts Weekly.
Support for Arts Weekly is provided by PBS 39, the Our Foundation, Martin Tierney, and the Community Foundation of Greater Fort Wayne.